At the beginning, it must be noted that the setting of this film takes place in prehistoric times, with ignorance and primitive life widespread, to the point that they worshipped fire, and the heroes of two films today are twin brothers who do everything to stay alive. Although one of these two will remain the king of the best people ever from their perspective, he will be exposed to a very profound betrayal by the people closest to him. Our film begins today in the year 753 BC on an ancient island that later became Rome. The two brothers, Remus and Ramo, remain praying to their god of fire to send them food. But suddenly the world is raining on them, and Remus realizes that the storm is severe and that there is a flood moving toward them. They start running as hard as they can, but unfortunately Ramo falls, so his brother decides to stay with him, and they face the flood that destroys everything. He overtakes Remus and catches him in a tree, and keeps calling on his brother until they see him in front of him. So he runs to him to answer him, but he falls on a rock, and the flood continues to be severe. So they completely lose consciousness on top of the two of them while they are on an Arab car and taking slaves of one of the tribes. While in his place in the wooden prison, Ramo becomes very upset that his life does not end there and he does not want to eat. But Remus reassures him and asks him to eat, because their time has not yet run out as long as they are still living. At night, all the slaves go to a specific place. We see a priestess performing some rituals. Among them is that they let two slaves fight each other. Whoever prefers to live among them is chosen by God and remains among the tribe. In fact, they get a huge person up and throw him in the mud in front of another weak person. Of course, the huge person is able to throw the other person into the mud and beat him and hide himself until he dies in a very brutal way. Here the priestess goes to the body, makes a sign on it, and throws it into the fire as a sacrifice to God. They then call on Ramo to fight him too, but he remains very afraid for him and keeps hoping that the guards will be the one to fight him. With the consent of the priestess, the two brothers stand in front of each other, not knowing what to do, until Ramo asks his brother to hit him with all his might, and he will act. So Remus starts to really hit him and throw him into the mud once, and every now and then Ramo asks him to hit him harder as if he's killing him. Here, Remus thinks of his mother before she was taken with the slaves when they were young, when she advised his brother Ramo and asked him to take care of him. But he attacks his brother and continues to hit him until he is unable to move. Then the priestess goes to put the mark and throws him into the fire. But Ramo prevails and hits the priestess, and his brother kills the guard next to him and dismantles the rest of the slaves so that the great battle begins. The two brothers stand at each other's backs and kill everyone who comes close to them. The angry slaves continued to kill the rest of the guards with the utmost brutality, but someone comes from Ramo and treacherously strikes him in the stomach with a sword. Ramos runs up to him, kills him, and removes the sword from his brother's body. But the injury remains very serious. Here Ramo asks them to escape and the priests come with them. Indeed, Remus and the rest of the men and priests move with them. Remus suggests that they enter the forest as far away from the place. Otherwise, the rest of the tribe members who killed them will be able to find them all and kill them. But the forest remains very dangerous and full of brutal legends, and everyone is afraid that he will leave. But because they have no other choice, they decide to listen to Remus. They move into the forest, but his condition remains very critical. As soon as they enter the forest, he falls to the ground and is unable to move. Here one of the men suggests to Remus that he let him die in peace, because he will remain a burden on them, and nothing more. But of course this matter is impossible for Remus, and he decides to carry his brother on his back until he is safe, and they can relax for a while in his place. And one of them remains afraid of the spirits in the forest, and decides to continue on his way alone, despite their warnings. The next day, the rest of the men continue on their way, only to be surprised by a terrible sight in front of them. The man I asked yesterday was hanging on a tree, and his lower part was not there. Someone killed him in such a brutal way that how many of the men think that this is a curse because of Ramo who dies with them, as well as the priestess. Because of this, one of the men tries to silence Ramo and kill him. But Remus wakes up at the last moment and pushes the man away, warning him that he is getting closer to the second person who will die. He tells the man in front of everyone that Ramo is a curse to them and they must get rid of him. Only one of the men was the one holding him and asking him to kill the two brothers. But when the man tries, Remus appreciates that he hurts him, knocks him to the ground in front of everyone, kills him, and then stops and asks if there is anyone else who wants to fight with him. But of course, after the brutality they saw, no one could speak half a word. They then continue their way through the vast forest until Romo tells his brother that he is dying of hunger. Here Remus goes to the priests and asks her to protect his brother until he sees anything they can eat. After Remus leaves for a while, the men start talking that it is impossible for Remus to come back and that he will surely die. Now they can kill Romo and the priests to get rid of this curse. But the priestess performs a certain ritual in a circle around Romo, and when someone tries to approach them, she says an incantation, and he falls to the ground. At the same time, when Remus sees a gazelle in front of him, he attacks it with the utmost brutality and slaughters it, so he could take it and return to the men who were standing and shocked that Remus was able to live in this dark forest. Remus opens the deer's stomach and takes the heart from it, and asks the men to eat as they want, and quickly everyone attacks the deer because they are dead from hunger and thirst. They go to Remus with the heart to his brother, and he starts eating him and drinking the blood of the gazelle. Then the priestess made a mixture of herbs and wanted to treat Romo's wound. When Remus is sure of her good intentions, he agrees. When we catch up with Remus again on the day he gets better, he notices his brother and tells everyone to get ready to go. Remus assures them that he ate them and saved them from remaining slaves. He will continue to protect and care for them, and will provide them with a land to live in as well, to announce Remus in front of everyone, and to achieve his goal. In fact, one after the other raised their hands to greet Remus and unanimously agreed that he would be their king. Suddenly they meet men from one of the tribes, attacking them from everywhere. Deadly fighting begins between the two fronts, and Remus literally remains like a monster in the fight. Al-Nazir had extreme courage and great brutality in killing everyone who was close to him. Although a large number of Dramos's men died, Ramoso and his followers believed that they were victorious in the end. They then moved to the tribe from which these men come. Remus announces that he will take this area so that it belongs to him from here on out, especially since he still killed all the guards protecting them. Of course, no one in the village can object to the decision because they are without protection now. At night, the people of the tribe perform their own rituals as a farewell to the guards who died. Remus slaughters one of the sheep, so his man asks the priestess if she knew how to read the entrails of animals, especially since these legends were widespread among them, and the priestess assured him that she knew. Then everyone stood and waited to hear what the priestess would say, and the priestess said that two sisters would emerge from among them, a legendary king who would establish an empire that had never existed in the entire world before, and armies of men would obey. His orders remain with him for a long period of time. When the priestess remains silent, Remus asks her to continue because he is not afraid of the will of the gods. Here the priestess says that one of the two sisters will continue to live because one must kill the other. Here, everyone present is shocked by what they hear, and she ends her words by saying that the best empire ever will be established from her brother's blood. Here Remus enters his brother, who was listening to everything, and he has a knife with him. He asks Romo to violate the will of the gods and kill him, as he remains a very powerful king. But because of his older brother telling him that the priestess might be lying to make us fall in love with each other, he decides that he will not kill him. He goes out to take the creature and is fanatical, but the tribe leader stops him. Here he annoys Remus very much, and slaughters him in front of everyone in cold blood. He continues to drag the priestess to the forest and tie her up so that the monsters can find her and kill her. The priestess tells him that he must obey the gods, and that the words she said were not coming from her mind. But Remus still refuses to believe it, and he doesn't even want to kill her so she can be single before she dies. When he returns to the tribe, all the people remain upset because of the tribe's leader, and here, Romo finally comes out and walks on his feet and asks his brother about the priestess. Remus tells him that he chose his life over anything else, but Romo knows that fire was their only refuge. He asks him to leave the village people and the tribe leader bury him properly. But Remus Pitt goes to annoy his brother and tells him that he should listen to what he says and annoy him like the rest of the people with him. And here the concept of power and victory begins to dominate Remus so much that he stops screaming at everyone and forces them to humble themselves while they talk to him. He asks all his men to have fun in the huts in order to insult the gods of the people of the tribe. He assures his brother that power is based on fear, but his brother asks him to take a look around, because they are alone day after day. But Remus has so much power and authority that he tells his brother that he will remain the new god of the world. Remus then hears strange noises and is unable to determine their source. He decides to go to the forest to look at the priestess. He is shocked when he finds her horribly injured by animals, but she is still alive. The priests tell him that he must flee because God's plan will be completed soon. The priestess dies in the hands of Reem, who has become very distracted, even more than before. The next day, when Romo woke up, he found the whole place in ashes, and Remus took his men and walked away. Romo tries to light the fire again to reassure the people of the tribe, until he actually succeeds. Here they decide that they will appoint Romo as their leader in order to protect them, especially since they will move from the place they are in after it was destroyed by Remus. Romo sees the soldiers of the tribe who had taken him as slaves running towards the river and realizes that they are going to his brother's house. Here Romo says that they must defeat the soldiers of this tribe with Balzat because they are the strongest. After their defeat, Romo and his followers will begin to gather people around them to build a new empire based on peace. Indeed, the tribe's soldiers attack Remus and his followers at the river with utmost force. Because of their large numbers, Remus and his followers are unable to kill them, to the point that the strongest men with Remus started one after the other in front of the brutal forces attacking them. Even though the specter of defeat was looming over the place, Romo and his new helpers blossom and fight with Remus against the tribe's soldiers, so that the two brothers once again stand at each other's back and fight as if their lives are at stake. In fact, Romo Flowers, who is with him, has an advantage in the fight in favor of Remus, and the tribe's soldiers begin to die, one after another, a brutal battle by all standards. In this battle, the two brothers were destined to show extraordinary courage and strength. After the end of the battle, Romo's followers gather their spies inside a circle of fire because of the knocking, and the men who are with Remus begin to doubt whether they are fighting in the right direction or not. One of the men is a worker searching the spy, and Romo doesn't like it, so he asks him to stop. But Remus intervenes and tells him that his man only takes orders from him. They know that he made an alliance with the tribe, and they all remain free, not under his command. The man following Remus is annoyed and does not want to hear what Romo says. Here, Romo's followers begin shooting arrows at him and wounding him until he falls to the ground. Dead, Remus asks the last person remaining with him to walk, but he is shocked by reality when the man drops his weapon to join Romo and those with him. Here, Remus makes sure that he has no choice but to fight against his brother. But this time it will be serious. Whoever wins from them remains the founder of the modern empire that will shake the world, an empire of blood and violence with Remus, or an alliance and peace with Romo. The two brothers begin to fight among themselves with utmost force. Because Remus is stronger than the injured Romo, he is able to knock him to the ground and then he will kill him. But he looks at the faces of the people around him and is sure that they want his brother, not him. When he thinks about it, he gets up and leaves him, grabs the sword and sticks it in Remus's stomach in front of everyone. Remus falls to the ground as he breathes his last, amid intense crying from Romo, who, despite everything that happened, loves his brother who saved him from many horrors. Remus asks him to bury him in a specific place, and he dies. Indeed, Romo annoys his brother, and then directs his words to the people he is with in order to inform them that all the peoples they will meet after that will ally with them, so that the banner of peace will occupy the brutal world in which they live. We know that Romo was the founder of the ancient Roman state, thanks to the justice and peace he achieved with other peoples. But the price was expensive, as the priestess said. An empire will be built through the blood of one brother. This blood belonged to Remus. This concludes our movie today. Legend, don't forget to support us with a like and write us your opinion in a comment so we can get all the HD action summaries to you.